We are joined now by Miami head coach Mario Cristobal, and he's been flipping them. He's like a pancake maker, flipping dudes, flipping from Florida. Well, I guess Mario. This started. It feels like the fuse got lit with Justin Scott, who was committed to Ohio State. You guys flipped him about 5 weeks ago. He's a defensive tackle from Chicago that you've been recruiting the whole time. What was it about that guy and him deciding to join this class that kind of lit the fire?
Well, he's such a high caliber, just popular player, and people know that, wherever he's going, they're probably going to be pretty good in that position. And I think he got along really well with our guys. And last year's freshman class has had great success here, and they know that the trajectory of this program is going this way. And it just, like you said, it was a spark that lit a fire, and it hasn't stopped. The momentum is building, and we're still going, man. We're over here working, and there's a long way to go, and we're still working.
Yeah, as we speak, you are not done. We're recording this about 4:15 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. You still have some lines in the water waiting to see what comes back. What is that like as you go through signing day, and there's still some guys out there that you are interested and you got a shot at? Is it nerve-wracking? Is it exciting? How's that feel?
Well, I mean, come on, man. I love Miami. I was born and raised here and played here, and the first thing we had to attend to was the roster. And we knew that, man, it was such a drastic difference from when we were here as players to what it had gotten to. And now in our second full cycle, we have a chance to sign the two best classes in school history. So, I mean, nerve-wracking isn't the word. Is there some anxiety in there? Without a doubt, there's some anxiety. But it's all excitement. It's all upside, and it's all opportunity to get better. So there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of energy, and it's just been an awesome day.
So last year, the headliners were the O-line, Maui Noah and Okinola. Mm-hmm. And this year, it feels like the headline is the D-line. As an ex-offensive lineman, how critical is it to have guys like Justin Scott, like Artavius Jones, those guys in the middle there?
Yeah, it's a true iron sharpens iron mentality that now comes to fruition, because now both sides have acquired some really high-level talent that loves to play physical and works really, really hard. So these practices will be epic. It'll start to look a lot like what it looked like back when we were players here. And certainly those guys were a lot better players than I ever was, so I had a tough time trying to block them. I couldn't, but now, man, I can't wait to see these guys on campus. About 28 of these guys are going to be here in January. So we're really, really excited.
It's funny. What you just said reminds me of something Art Kehoe, the longtime Miami offensive line coach, told me once. He said, we got our asses whipped 5 days a week, but then on Saturday it worked out great, because he was talking about how good Miami's defensive line was in those years. And it's interesting. Justin Scott, a Chicago D tackle who's big and powerful. And you mentioned in your press conference today, Russell Maryland, another D tackle from Chicago from your era, #1 pick in the draft.
That's right. Was my brother's roommate here, a phenomenal player that didn't have much attention, right? Back in the day before there was so much, the internet, right? And being able to track guys all over the place. So, Chicago, and Jared Payton, who, again, one of our esteemed alum, a great player here, man, got a chance to catch up with him. And Marquise Lightfoot, Chicago guy as well. Yep. Miles Muyung is here from Chicago. We got Chicago to Miami is a real thing, and we intend to keep that going, man. I love going out there. Awesome football, awesome coaches, great place. Love it.
You can download that PrizePicks app. And if you do that and use the code NSD as in National Signing Day, they will match your first deposit up to $100. And they're doing some really fun stuff these next few weeks. It is Picksmas, so your Picksmas gift is a Kevin Durant square. So that's what you pick squares. You pick at least 2. You can pick up to 5. And you decide more than or less than on an amount of points or yards or rebounds, depending on the sport and the player. And the Kevin Durant Picksmas present is that if he scores 1 point in his game on Christmas Day, you win that square. So you pick that one and he scores a point, you won that one. And if you pick one more that wins, then you are in the money. They're also doing Demon and Goblin squares. So in honor of Washington making the college football playoff, let's talk about the last guy who quarterbacked Washington to a college football playoff, Jake Browning, who'll be starting for the Bengals against the Steelers this week. Well, he has a demon passing yardage stat. If he throws for more than 274.5, if you pick that square and he throws for more than 274.5, now remember, they jack up the number to make it a little bit harder to win, but you can win up to 100 times your money. Up to 100 times. It's pretty fun. We've also got the guy. If you want to do it a little bit easier, you go with the Goblin number. Jake Browning's Goblin number is 199.5 passing yards against the Steelers. So lots of ways to have fun with PrizePicks. They got college football squares. They put them out as we get closer to each bowl game. There's already a few out there for the college football playoff games. It's a ton of fun. Great to have a little bit of extra, couple squares while you're watching the game. Download PrizePicks, use the code NSD, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. So in the last few days, you have managed to get some other guys into this class. Darius Hayes, the linebacker from Largo, Florida, was the most recent one. How does that work when you've been working on a guy for a while and then getting close to signing day, you start to feel like, all right, we still really have a chance to get this guy?
Honestly, it's almost like a game where you don't think about getting him. Like, you don't think about winning. You stay process oriented, because we've seen it all. I mean, Andy, we've seen guys dressed up in our gear, pretending to sign and take a snapshot, and then when the papers come out, he signs somewhere else. We've seen it all. So until that paperwork gets in, the snapshot gets in, we just work, and we focus on the ones that we're able to get here. You don't focus on the ones you miss. If you do that, you'll never be happy in life, right? So just a lot of enthusiasm, energy. So many people work hard to make this happen. That it's just been a great day.
That's what you mentioned in your press conference. You mentioned the creative team, the down to the custodians. But in terms of recruiting operations, how much more elaborate is it now than when you were being recruited to Miami? Like, could you imagine, like, I got to have somebody who does the photo shoot, the person who edits the video clips, the person who makes the edits? It's
so different. I don't know if I would have done well in a photo shoot. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with all those flashing bulbs, man, and all those, those extras. But it's completely different. I remember first getting, when I started working at Alabama, and they said, "Hey, here's your recruiting assistant." I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about? I do my own work. I don't need an assistant." So, but there's so much volume. There's so much ground to cover. The world's a lot smaller now, right? The use of private jets, transportation, helicopters, right? That you could cover a lot of ground, but you still don't want to lose the grassroots mentality. You still don't want to lose the mentality of cultivating certain areas and having area coaches. That's how you build relationships.
One thing I've always found interesting about Miami recruiting, because we always talk about the Howard Schnellenberger state of Miami and the Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, and you got quite a few guys from that area in this class. But you go back through the history. We've already talked about Russell Maryland being from Chicago. Some of those great Miami teams had Canadian offensive linemen or a quarterback from California. How do you blend those things together and make sure you still are recruiting your backyard as hard as you can?
Well, Miami is the melting pot of the world. And if you come upstairs to where the coaching offices are, so are we. I mean, we're from American Samoa. We're from Queens, New York. We're from Havana, Cuba. We're from everywhere. And it's a direct reflection of the city. And even though we want to keep our best players home, but we also understand that Miami is a national brand, and we're going to be able to go all over the country and attract the best of the best. So it makes for a great locker room. And it's a little bit more realistic as to what their locker room is going to look like in the NFL when they get to that level.
Speaking of that melting pot of coaches you have, Joe Salovey, your D-line coach, one of the few D-line coaches who looks like he could just put on a uniform today and play. How good a job did he do during this cycle?
Well, I think him and Jason Taylor, we kid all the time. We used to, I guess, upon arrival, it's like, man, our coaches look better than the guys we're recruiting. You know what I mean? Guys are massive, Hall of Famers in the Polynesian community, Hall of Famers in the NFL. And what they've done is just they've collaborated and have formed a tremendous just regimen and structure for our players. All of a sudden, a freshman like Ruben Bain becomes a freshman All-American, and that just it speaks volumes for development. And then you take their experience, and now you put that on the road and you recruit. And naturally, they're people that they have nothing to prove because of what they've done in their lives, but they live every day and work every day as if they have everything to prove. So they're awesome to be around.
How much does a Ruben Bain or a Francis Mauigoa help recruit this class because of what they could do as freshmen?
Well, they either help it or they scare it away. Okay. And by that, I mean, if you come to practice, you say, man, I either want to play with that guy or I want to play and practice against that guy, or you say, hey, I want no part of it. So we get as many prospects as possible to practice. That's the best thing we do. Want to see our coaches coach, want to see our players, the intensity, the energy of practice, the demands that come with it, and our style of coaching. Those two guys right there, they've been incredible because everything we preached about building, resetting the culture and the roster, they're walking billboards for the program. So it's been great.
Well, Mario, it sounds like you got more big dudes coming in. I know that makes you very, very happy. So good luck with the ones those lines in the water we talked about. We'll see if those come through. But thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, appreciate you having me. Go Canes, brother.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.